Hello everyone, welcome back to today's video. In today's video, we are reacting to why 41 million Christians refuse to vote this year. Now, before we get into it, please subscribe. A lot of y'all are watching the video, but you're not subscribing. Please subscribe. We're on our way to 1,000 subscribers by the end of this year. Anyways, if you're a Christian and you don't vote, honestly, that's sad. As a Christian, I believe that it's very important that you vote because your vote does have influence on which way this country turns. And I know a lot of people don't believe that. They think their vote won't matter. But it does. It does. So go out there and vote.
If you're following the upcoming election, this might scare you. This new study shows that 41 million Christians
41 million Christians planning on not voting this November.
Aren't planning to vote this year.
41 million. That's basically, that's like, what, 330 million people. That's 1/5.
And 32 million of them regularly attend church.
And 32 million that regularly attend church are not voting.
That is a staggering number of votes that could completely change the outcome of this election. And with the election quickly approaching, some Christians are outraged, arguing that
Christians who don't vote for Trump doesn't have discernment periods not too far out. If you're a Christian sitting out this election because Donald Trump is not sufficiently pro-life for you, congratulations. Your decision will result in more dead babies. Not thousands refuse millions of... Okay.
That it's immoral for Christians not to vote, especially if they're not voting for Trump. But why are so many Christians stepping away from the political process this year? Well, it's not apathy and it's not surrender. The truth is, it's something that you probably weren't expecting.
If we stand up for God's truth at the polls, then we can at least say we did our duty as Christian citizens.
The right
Yep.
to vote is not a binding duty. The children are free.
We should vote, though. Voting is really important.
Now, before we dive in, I just want to make something clear. This video is not here to tell you whether or not you should vote. Instead, it's about why 41 million Christians are choosing not to vote. And
This video is telling you to go vote, though. Like, I know he's saying don't vote, but, like, I'm telling you, go vote.
And what that means for the future of Christianity in America. Now, if you want to see just how strong the pressure is for Christians to vote this year, just read the countless statements online that say things like this. Thousands of Christians refused to vote for Trump in 2020. Now our country is on the precipice of losing everything that we love. When Christians do not vote, it's a form of passive rebellion against God. I'll say this, it's immoral to not vote for Trump as a Christian. Christians who fail to vote for Trump because he makes them feel icky are weak, not righteous. Any Christian who doesn't vote for Trump doesn't have discernment, period. It's not too far, it's reality. It's tweets like these and many more that have led a lot of Christians to feel pressured by their fellow believers to vote, especially for specific candidates like Trump. And
Look, at the end of the day, there's two main candidates, Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. I have a video coming out. I'm going to try to release it at least 1 week before the election. And for those of you who haven't voted early and you're going to vote on the day of the election, this video, I recommend you watch it, and this video will help you determine who you should vote for. It's very, as a Christian, I'm saying as a Christian. If you're not a Christian, then this video can still help you choose who to vote for. But like, this is for as like a Christian. It goes through a whole bunch of list of policies and stuff. What each candidate supports, what they don't support, what they're for, what they're not for. And yeah, I have that video. I'm working on it right now. It's coming out soon.
Primary reason given is summarized in this tweet by Eric Metaxas. If your pastor doesn't insist you vote in his next sermon, he may as well preach on the blessings of abortion. It's the same thing. And if you attend a church like that, you share in the guilt. So his message is clear. If you go to a church that doesn't tell you to vote for Trump, then you and your pastor share in the guilt of blessing abortions. But despite his strong claim, for many, it's really not that simple. In fact, this would have been a more powerful argument during almost any other election before this one. The reason why is that not only do non-voting Christians see voting for Harris as voting for a pro-abortion candidate, but they also see voting for Trump to also be voting for abortion, since Trump seems to be pro-abortion and
Okay. Forget about abortion. If we're going based on just abortion, Trump, yes, sadly does support abortion up to the 15th week. Or no, yeah, up to the 15th week. and in some immediate cases, he does support it. But if you look at Camilla Harris, she supports it to when this baby's a few months in. But just besides abortion, there are so many. Like, yeah, I wish Trump didn't support it, and I wish he wasn't. He's not like even really. He's for it, but I wish he wasn't for. Like, he's not for it, but he is for it. If that makes sense. He's like in between. But on other issues, very important issues, foreign policy, borders, just like those are like the two bigger ones. Immigration, all that. I feel like these are other reasons why you should vote, and that's why my video that's coming up will explain more in detail on why you should vote as a Christian, and even those of you who aren't Christians should still go out and vote. And yeah, let's watch the rest of it.
At least 94% of cases. By Trump saying,
The Supreme Court just approved the abortion bill, and I agree with their decision to have done that, and I will not block it.
his own words confirm that he's in full support of 63% of abortions. And if we also acknowledge the fact that he refuses to support a 16-week ban, this means that Trump is pro 94% of abortions. Now, I've covered this in another video, so I won't rehash it here, but for a lot of non-voting Christians, they don't feel comfortable voting for any candidate since they see both as being pro-abortion. Now,
Okay, you see, that's the thing though. Yes, okay. Comment down below if you think I'm wrong for saying this, and I'm probably not phrasing it right. But for instance, say you don't vote for, say Trump lines up more with Christian values. If you don't vote for Trump and Camilla Harris does win, and she's complete the opposite of Christian values and everything that, yeah. If she wins, what then? What then? Like, honestly, by you not voting, it's not doing anything good for the country by you not voting.
some might respond by saying that Trump's 6% difference from the Democrats is better than nothing, but for many, this simply isn't enough to outweigh concerns about his increasing support of abortion, especially since they see the MAGA party as being right behind the Democrats on a lot of other
Okay.
religious ethics as well. So it simply doesn't sit well with their conscience. And scripture doesn't tell us that not voting is a sin, but it does tell us that violating your conscience is a sin. But despite all of this, a lot of people still find the sentiment behind Eric's tweet to be valid. They don't agree with Trump on abortion, but they do believe that Eric is right to call out churches for not pushing their congregants to make a change by voting. But does this kind of political pressure align with what the Bible actually says about the role of churches and pastors? Well, you might find this interesting. Before we answer that, take a look at this study. This study found that Christian nationalism, this push to blend faith with politics, isn't as common among regular churchgoers as you might think. The study revealed that Christian nationalism is only significantly associated with Trump support among voters who don't go to church. In fact, another study shows that 64% of Christians who have a favorable view of Trump don't attend church regularly either. These and
Okay.
other studies raise a really important question. Why are people who are so passionate about Christian influence in politics often the same people who are detached from regular church involvement? Well, one particular reason is that, without being grounded in a spiritual community, it's easy to see how political activism can become their primary outlet for making a difference. And I have no doubt that they mean well while doing so, and I genuinely appreciate their efforts. But is this what the Bible calls Christians and churches to focus on? Does political power bring about the kind of deep, lasting change that Jesus envisioned? Well, I think
This reminds me of one of my, actually, I think it was one of my first 3 episodes on Carl's Christian on this podcast. And me and my friend, we actually discussed, should the church be involved? Let me change the.
we would do well
Should the church be involved in government and politics? So I'm not gonna really go into too much detail, but go watch it right now. I just put the card up here so you can click on it and go watch it, because it'll really open your eyes onto a lot of things me and Everett did in that podcast episode. And yeah.
to remember
Go back and check my first few podcast episodes. I know we have one on Independence Day. We have one on education, one on Thanksgiving, government and church, that type of stuff. So go back and look at them. I do have a few more coming out. very soon.
What Jesus said to the religious people of his day about first cleaning the inside of the cup and then the outside will also be clean, meaning that true change starts from within. You can't make a true change in someone's heart by giving them rules or changing the laws. It's far more complicated than that.
Yep.
And I say this as someone who gets it. I too like the idea of making a deep change by voting once every 4 years because it's easy and it doesn't require a ton of hard work. But
Yeah, I do understand what you're saying. Voting is not gonna save the world. The world's gonna end soon, but like voting is not gonna save it. But I do believe that it is very important for you as a Christian to go out and vote, because take it this way. Just because you as a Christian is not voting, you really think, now I know a lot of my viewers are also non-Christians as well. And I know a lot of non-Christians are voting. I mean, you think all of, I don't know if that makes sense, but like, yeah, I just vote. But at the end of the day, everyone has free will. You can decide what you want to do, what you don't want to do. I'm just giving my opinion.
that isn't what our primary calling is as Christians. The final command that Jesus gave us was not to change the world through politics, but by going out and making disciples. And an overfocus on making a change through politics can distract us from the true mission of the church, transforming lives through the gospel, one disciple at a time, which is way harder than voting every few years, and it takes a lot.
And if 41 million Christians did go out and change the world with the gospel, then America would be way better than it is right now. If 41 million Christians all went to church and attended church, then the world would be way better than it is right now. But 41 million Christians, these 41 million Christians that aren't voting, most likely aren't going to church, aren't sharing the gospel. And I know it is, even for me, it's hard to like go out there and just share the gospel or to talk about it, because it might make you feel out of your comfort zone, or even bringing it up with a friend might feel different. But it's very important that you do share the gospel and that you do vote. I feel like as a Christian, you should be very involved in politics.
Lot more time. And by the way, I know what you're thinking. This sounds all great and all, but we have to act now by voting. If we don't, America will fail, it will be too late to make a change, and it won't even be legal to talk about Christianity, let alone disciple people. And if that's you, can I just say, don't get me wrong, I understand the urgency that a lot of Christians are feeling right now before this election, because the world is changing fast, and the fear that America might fall or that religious freedom could be taken away from us is real to a lot of people. So it's only natural to want to act now when it feels like the future of our faith and our country is at stake. But what if I told you that this mindset behind Christian nationalism, this idea that Christians should use political power to advance their faith, poses an even greater risk to the future of Christianity than any political threat ever could? I mean, you might remember this. When Rome fell, it was one of the most powerful empires the world had ever seen, and yet its collapse didn't mark the end of Christianity. In fact, Christians flourished in the aftermath, not because they had political power, but because they were committed to discipleship. Even with Christianity
That is true. It did commit. Okay, that is.
under attack and Christians being killed for their faith, the church grew stronger by focusing on what Jesus had called them to do: make disciples, love their neighbors, and stay strong in his word. Christianity still flourished and spread due to
Okay, I
discipleship,
see what. I'll speak after.
not nationalism. So while politics can influence laws and leadership for a season, it doesn't create that kind of deep, lasting change that transforms lives and cultures. This is part of the reason why Jesus didn't lead a political revolution. The fact that he came to transform hearts and build his kingdom through discipleship enabled the early church to thrive, even when the political systems were against them. But none of this means that the fears of Christian persecution are entirely unwarranted, which is why we need to consider the worst case scenario for this election.
Which is.
Let's say it's Wednesday, November 6th, and it's the start of the worst case scenario. The election didn't go the way Christians had hoped, and as a result, we'll lose all political influence and our voices will be completely silenced.
Yep.
Our worst fears are coming true, and eventually we'll be heavily persecuted for our faith. Now, if that happens, even if that happens, we can know that Christianity will still flourish because Christ said that the gates of hell will not prevail against his church, and we can believe him. In fact, as history has shown us, Christianity often
I like hearing this side of what he's saying.
does better under the persecution from the state than it does in comfort. When your life
It does. Christianity does. It did work better. It does work better under persecution than, and when Christians are comfortable, they don't do anything. We don't try to go evangelize. Nothing. When we're comfortable, we're just comfortable in our own lives. But as soon as that strife comes, that's when we want to take action.
Depends on the strength of your faith, it separates the real from the fake believers real quick. And I say all this because it should comfort you, not drive you to lash out at Christians online who chose not to vote. You won't have a need to flip out on these non-voting Christians because your trust is in Christ, knowing that he won't let his church disappear. All right, so let me leave you with this. Christ didn't die to give us political power. He died to save us from sin and reconcile us to himself. His death and resurrection are the foundation of our faith, and that's not in who holds office in this temporary world that's passing away, but in the fact that we were redeemed and given new life in him. So what we need far more than winning an election is to remember this. God cares more about the holiness of his people than the political well-being of a country.
That is very true. That is true.
Christianity survived when Rome fell, not because of politics, but because of the holiness of his people. And if we fail to focus on discipleship above politics, then we've already lost the fight of Christianity being represented in America, and will continue to do far more damage to the future of Christianity than any political.
I kind of like this guy's perspective a little bit. It was a perspective. It's kind of like a different side to look at.
President or party ever could. Now, one thing that I didn't get to talk about in this video that you have to watch out for is exactly how politicians use Jesus and Christianity to deceive people into voting for him. And I know that you think you know, but there's more to it than you might think. So to see what I mean, go ahead and click here and I'll see you over there. All right? Thanks for watching.
All right. Thank you. What do you mean? That's his channel name.
And what?
So, honestly, he is very true of what he just said. Christians in comfort tend to not, I guess, evangelize, and we're too comfortable. So it does take persecution for Christians to take action. And also, let me know what you all think. Comment down below, what do you think? I'm still voting. Like, I'm still voting myself, but that's like because I personally feel like that's just something as a Christian that I should do. But let me know what you think. Comment down below, and I will see you all in the next one. Have a blessed day.